I'm Feista Freeland. This week, my new show, Freeland File, comes to you from Davos, where I spoke to the legendary investor and philanthropist, George Soros. I asked Mr. Soros to explain to me Germany's politics and Germany's psychology as it tries to figure out how to save Europe and the euro. Here's what he had to say.
Look at it from their point of view. They have the most successful economy. So why can't the rest of Europe be like them, right? It's a very reasonable argument to make. Unfortunately, it's false, because you have a closed system, the euro clearing system, where Germany is a constant creditor. Well, you can't have everybody be creditor in a closed system. For every creditor, there has to be a debtor. The credits and the debits have to be balanced out. So the Germans are asking the impossible. It happens to work for them. And so even as Europe is pushed into a deflationary debt spiral, Germany will do relatively better than the others. So Germany will continue to rise, and the heavily indebted countries that have to pay heavy risk premiums will actually be in a recession.
And consequently, the Germans probably will be further confirmed in their belief that they know what to do and that their policy is correct, right?
That's correct. And the uncertainty that now surrounds the euro also is pushing down the value of the euro, which is also favors particularly Germany, which is the most competitive of all the European countries.
Italian Prime Minister Mario Monti is in London as part of a whirlwind European tour. After a meeting with British Prime Minister David Cameron and a closed-door conference with financiers and investors, Monti spoke to reporters at the London Stock Exchange.
We both believe, the UK and Italy, that adherence to fiscal discipline is a necessary condition for growth. It is not, however, a sufficient condition. And we both believe that not only our individual countries, but the European Union as a whole has a big role to play in order to foster economic union in a sustainable way. At the center of this policy for growth in both our visions lies the single market, that is a deeper economic integration within the European Union.
The meeting comes as the crisis continues in the Eurozone, with Italy one of the 9 member states to have their credit ratings downgraded last week.
Within the Eurozone, maybe we have sometimes forgotten that EMU means Economic and Monetary Union. The M is key and needs all the attention that it has received, but the E, Economic Union, has not been always paid the attention that it badly deserves.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2012, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com. Also on YouTube, it's ddarko2012. All these videos and headlines and links will be in YouTube's video description, so please check those out. Alright, you just saw some of these movers and shakers, one of them being, of course, Soros. He'll be highlighted throughout this video. So we'll go through the economy briefly in this video, and that'll set the backdrop for what's coming, because I have a lot of interesting news today. I usually have interesting news, but today I have just a lot of it. So much that I had to stop looking because there was so much. So the next video we'll get into some eugenics and that, or in the third video, and basically the police state and what they're getting ready. The Red Dawn includes your government. So this is all coming down the pike, as they say, in the next 12 months or so. So without further ado, let's go. 8 more years until squeezed middle class are talking about recover your pre-recession incomes thanks to pay freezes and rising bills. Study says as many as 5.8 million are struggling to pay their bills. Says here, pay freezes and rising bills mean, quote, the squeezed middle class will have to wait until 2020 at best to return to pre-recession living standards. The study says today as many as 5.8 million households are struggling to pay essential bills and unable to afford many simple pleasures. Almost half this group, 45%, do not have enough money to go on a holiday. And I think there's people more worried about starving or freezing and making that choice, like I said before, than going on a stupid holiday. Okay, and this is the thing, is what Obama was talking about what? Well, I didn't even watch the State of the Union address because I read in a comment on Facebook, it's really hard to digest that stuff because, you know, most of it is just pure lies and BS. But he's not there to save the middle class. He's there to be our, quote, leader, our CEO, as the middle class is crushed and squeezed until they disappear, because that's just too much power in the hands of slaves. It says here from Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index, which includes items such as gasoline, unleaded regular, we have what? The price going from 1.1 at 1.5 all the way up until almost 4. Last recorded at January 11th. Look at this, from 2001 in December, 113 to 327. And that means a lot for the economy because it's all based off fuel and transportation of goods. So it's here, under Obama, price of gas has jumped 83%, ground beef 24%, and bacon 22%. So this is kind of a conservative website, so they're going to blame it all on Obama. It has nothing to do with him. Like I said, he's the CEO of this corporation here. And it says here, motorists face record prices at the pumps with 2 pence on fuel and more to come. This is in Britain. It says motorists are on course for a, I guess, 20 cents a liter fuel price hike at the pumps that could take diesel prices to a new record high. The AA warned today, said it's adding 4 pounds and 25 pence, and I'm sorry if I'm getting the currency wrong. I'm trying here. A month to already hard-pressed family budgets and increasing the cost of fill-up. So there you go, just another way to squeeze the middle class here, and everybody else, I guess. Obama to use pension funds of ordinary Americans to pay for bank mortgage settlement. Says here, the president seems to labor under the misapprehension that crimes by members of the elites must be swept under the rug because prosecuting them would destabilize the system. And that's the same thing they're doing with Germany, right? Because Germany is supposedly big savers, and they have their financial house, quote, house in order, as Obama likes to use that stupid term. So they did what they were supposed to do, and now they're going to suffer, right? Because we're all in this together. We're a, quote, union. So, and it's kind of funny because back in World War II and in the 30s and that, when Germany got out of the Depression and whatnot, brought all kinds of jobs, and I know about the possible financing of Hitler's war machine, but at the same time, they did do a lot of measures that actually helped with unemployment and that. And what happened? Well, Britain and the UK did not want Germany to have to be the leader of this European economy. So yeah, we're going to move on here. We have IMF halting Iran oil. Could push crude up 30%, and this is, again, the IMF is threatening. When they say warning, they're threatening on Wednesday that global crude prices could rise as much as 30% if Iran halts oil exports. Remember, I just covered this from oilprice.com. It's not going to do that. If they do this, it'll actually decrease oil prices, so don't let them scare you as far as that goes. U.S. Treasury raids federal employee pension funds to cover debts. So basically it goes on, says in a letter to Congress earlier this week, Treasury Secretary Geithner said he would, quote, be unable to invest fully, end quote, the federal employees retirement system, a tactic the government has had to employ 6 times over the past 20 years in order to remain under the statutory debt ceiling limit. This is, of course, so the government can obtain more credit to its debts. Next up, we have billionaire David Rubenstein gives Washington Monument repair efforts $7.5 million boost. And it says here, Congress allocated $7.5 million of your tax dollars towards the monument's repairs in December on the condition that it would be matched by private sector donations. And of course, most of your tax dollars go to the Federal Reserve System for you being able to use your money. So, I mean, that's not even an accurate statement. And what is it they do? They don't spend, they just take on more debt. So you see the scam there. And so, I mean, Americans shouldn't even have had to pay for that to begin with, right? Because this was done privately by Freemasons and that, and it's a big obelisk, it's a big penis, that's what it is. It comes from Egypt, and that's who rules us. And so they're going to make people pay for half that. And basically, it's putting their big phallus up there saying, this is ours and we are dominating you. It says here, a car company gets U.S. loan, builds cars in Finland. Remember this, the approval of the Obama regime. The electric car company received $500 million of federal government loan guarantee, assembling its first line of cars in Finland. And of course, they said, oh, it could bring work to the United States, which it never did. Moving on here, Colorado illegal immigrant tuition bill introduced again. So Colorado lawmakers will try again to grant in-state tuition to illegal immigrants who graduated from state high schools. Remember, I just watched a part of a video of Bill Cooper yesterday, and the 6-part series. And what was he saying? He was saying that the point of the whole immigration thing was that, you know, it was to bring in people so that they could socialize the country. That's what it is. They're coming from a country that is bad and they want to find a better life. Well, unfortunately, a lot of them are leaving now because the U.S. is becoming so crappy. But with that being said, the United States government and communists or socialists, whatever you want to call them, their ideology, that is the ultimate plan here, is to turn the world into basically world communism for the people, for the slaves, and then, of course, fascism, technocracy for the elites, such as Soros and Kissinger and all them and Brzezinski. But they can't just use simple-minded liberals. You know, they have good hearts and stuff like that, and you know, but they can't just use Americans. They have to bring in immigrants to do this for them. So it makes sense here. Test of new immigration rules say 14% of immigrants could stay in the United States. Survey says Latino voters sticking with Obama Democrats. So they're going to vote for this guy, even though he doesn't really, you know, he's doing this stuff for what? For class warfare and to create this communist system, which he came from Chicago with, of course, what? The weathermen, which were communists, and they would do these little things and blow up stuff. It says here, Hillary Clinton offers a world-class education in the U.S. to women from Muslim countries. So there you go. Elites pushing class warfare is just another false paradigm. Said here when billionaire Warren Buffett said, there's class warfare, all right, it's my class, the rich class, that's making the war, and we're winning. And of course, Bill Cooper said that too, that you are losing with war. The struggling middle class treated him like one of them, as if he's on their side. I always see that too, about everybody thinks that he's like their guy, like he represents the middle class or something like that. More recently, billionaire investor George Soros warned of a coming class war in the United States and reported by Daily Beast, where he proudly points out that his prediction of riots on the streets has already begun. Finishing up with the Occupy movement's beginnings having ties to funded by Soros, many believe him to be stoking the so-called class warfare. Although Soros denies directly funding the movement's beginnings, his vast philanthropic, much like Gates, contributions have far-reaching tentacles into many revolutions around the globe. So just like the Occupy movement, it's all been basically staged by them. I don't even think that thing was grassroots. And that's why a lot of them are a bunch of zombies that are just screaming and chanting the same thing. They have no original thought. I'm sorry, there's a lot of good people in that movement, but that's what I see whenever I see videos. They just start chanting. One person says something, they'll start chanting, and it's very, very spooky. Okay, so I'll say one more thing, because they actually went down here and said it. Conveniently, the Occupy movement has adopted the catchy but brainless us versus the 1% mantra as a rallying call for everyone in the 99% to blame their problems on the so-called 1%. It sounds a lot like stoking class warfare to me, so there you go. Are George Soros, the IMF, and the World Bank purposely trying to scare the living daylights out of us? It says anger rises. Riots on the streets of American cities are inevitable. Yes, yes, yes. He says almost gleefully the response to the unrest could be more damaging than the violence itself, which is true. They're going to sit back and let people with all these guns start shooting at each other, and then they'll be crying for the global government, NATO, to come in, the police and the military to come basically bring order out of chaos. It will be an excuse for cracking down and using the strong-arm tactics, all built up with your tax dollars, big brother and police state, militarizing of police and fusion centers to maintain law and order, which carried out to an extreme could bring about a repressive political system, which is what they want, a society where individual liberty is much more constrained, basically gone, which would be the break with the tradition of the United States, which has been gone for a while. So just like the bailout in the United States and the stimulus, Christine Lagarde, the IMF, warns of global depression. She threatens global depression if governments don't pay up. IMF seeking more funds. I think it's what, $500 billion. Then we have Bernanke says Fed pondering further stimulus United States. So just like ex-Goldman Sachs representative Monti from Italy, Merkel of Germany says we will have to get used to the fact that the European Commission will become more like a government, which is the point. And as oil drilling begins in Somalia, British Prime Minister strokes war of words over Falklands over oil.